being brought up and living my early life and that on the market garden was most enjoyable because of the freedom and atmosphere, and I know we had to work hard. We started working probably from when we could walk. And me and the brother used to carry collies that were bigger than ourselves nearly to load on the truck from the patch when Dad was cutting them.
Yeah, when we were loading the truck for market with cauliflowers, we would obviously cut all the cauliflowers first, cart them out to the side of the patch. We'd drive the truck alongside. We'd have a 44-gallon drum to stand on.
One person on the ground picking them up, the other person throwing them up, and as it got high you'd have this chain of loading the produce or the collies, which were taken into market the next morning, and they would have been in the shops the same day.
Yeah, we used to load up the truck at night, and we'd go to market probably, I used to get up probably about 2 o'clock, go to market, and the market used to open at 5 o'clock, and they used to all have hand trolleys. Everything was done manually. There was no forklifts in those days. They just unload everything by hand.
It was a bit tough when we came anyway. It was not like now. All the jobs were done by horse and by hand.
It's a very hard life. You know, it's not just on the land. Dad would get up 2 o'clock in the morning to go to Footscray Market, sell what he'd, what he'd cropped, the day before, and he'd get back home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, wouldn't go to sleep, would, cut for the next day and work through until probably 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, in the evening, and then have a few hours rest, and then go to bed for maybe 5 or 6 hours and do it all over again. So
go the next morning.
He said to myself and my brother, don't do that, too hard.
Yes, John was very good at going to sleep in odd places, including sitting bolt upright in the kitchen chair at the table. So I think that's probably why he managed with the lack of sleep, because he certainly never saw a night of 8 hours.
We had a tremendous childhood. I just loved our growing up years. To us, it wasn't work. It was a fun thing, because we ate the apricots, we ate the
carrots.
We ate the carrots. And yes.
That's why I've got good eyesight now, eating plenty of carrots.
I did learn how to pack apricots, and you would be packing apricots till near enough to midnight. And then when the apricot trees went, there were more tomatoes grown. But somehow or other I didn't manage to learn how to grade the tomatoes on purpose. John did the farming, I did the rearing of the children, is about what it amounted to, yes. I trained myself not to hear his alarm go off in the early hours of the morning, and he obviously trained himself never to hear the children wake up during the night.
The Brimbank River, when we were children, was our swimming hole. Each of the market gardeners had their own little part, didn't they?
Yeah.
And we'd often invite one another to come to our swimming hole for a social gathering. It was beautiful, clear, running water in those days, and we had a lot of fun.
In the garden times, if I was watering, you got a bit thirsty, I'd drink it.
Yeah.
Not too much of it, but you'd drink it then. Now it's a bit different.
My father was highly sought after tomato grower because I think because he was European, and they knew a bit more about the growing of tomatoes, and everyone wanted to grow the best tomatoes in Keilor, so they were always after a good tomato grower.
Tomatoes, you smelt like them. Like cow cock, he smells like his cow, but we smelt like tomatoes.
I just grow tomatoes now and spinach in winter time, and I like what I'm doing. That's all it is. And plus I got my son Mark in it. If Mark wasn't in it, I would have been retired. Yeah, the big changes was, say, back in the 40s and 50s, used to grow less and make probably more money than today, where today you've got to grow volume to make the same money. That's all it is. It's volume today. And also things then were cheaper to buy, but today it costs you an arm and a leg to buy things. Where chemical and fertiliser today is sky high, and seed is ridiculous, the price of seed. But years ago too, like, it was harder because it was all done by a hoe and it was manual. Whereas today, just the flick of a switch and you turn sprinklers on. It's so easy. It's all automatic. As long as I make a profit, I'll keep going. But once I don't make a profit, that's it. Pull the pin.
Two of us growers that were farming in Keilor flats for generations run businesses here in the Keilor strip now. One of them is the Sincerics. They've got a fruit shop, and we've obviously got this coffee shop here. And one of the main reasons is because the water issue that we had, we didn't have the supply that we needed, all of us. There wasn't guaranteed a supply of water 12 months of the year. So that was a major issue for a lot of us growers. As we grew, we went from one farm to, at one stage, 10. We had managers, growing department, harvesting department, sales department, all that sort of thing. So we sort of, as kids, did everything as kids, but as we got older and bigger, it was impossible to do everything. So we had to employ people with skills.
In 1991, we won the Melbourne Fine Food the Best Retail Product Award. We beat companies like Bushels and Coca-Cola, Amatil, and for a small unknown company to take out, I suppose, the most prestigious award was pretty big for us. Today's farmers are becoming very, very large, very similar to what's occurring in the US, where they have thousands and thousands of acres, and they're quite successful. To them, it's a numbers game. We have very small margins per unit, but millions and millions of tons of product are passing through their hands, every year. But then there's on the other side the small family farm, maybe a husband and wife team that are growing organically, or perhaps not, maybe just sustainably, and supplying the farmers' markets. Some of those operations are quite successful too. The way I see it is there's no room for a medium-sized business. You've either got to be very large or you've got to be very, very small.
We do miss the open space of the gardens and how beautifully laid out they were. It was like just a pattern. And you do miss that. It's only natural, but I guess that's progress, isn't it?
I think the best era for the market gardening was 50s to 60s, because you could make a good living out of a small area.
In the last 10 years before I finished, was for a few years was very bad. I couldn't keep going because it was too costly to plant it and grow it. No water. Chemicals were too dear, and also I couldn't sell the veggies. I used to get 30 cents a head those days.
There were, I think, good things about the old days and bad things, but equally good and bad things about, the more recent times.
Vegetable growing has gone that way that it's a case of, and lots of other farming activities, get big or get out. The marketing has changed a lot from growers selling their own produce to selling through the supermarkets and selling through agents.
Now I go into Safeway with my wife, and it disappoints me with what I see. Like some of the stuff that they sell we wouldn't have sold, or sold them as seconds, or sourced tomatoes, and like we'd pick it today, sell it in the morning, and it'd be in the shop that morning. Now with Safeway, as you know, you take it out there and it goes trip around Victoria, and you don't know how old that the items are then. But in our time, next day you could buy it out of the shop.
I really can't eat cauliflower now because it doesn't look or taste like cauliflower to me, because we were used to the very best, I suppose, straight from the gardens inside, and I guess you can't beat that really.